I almost forgot I had to say something about everything and all. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Jasper's Laboratory. Jasper's Lab, where we do some session prep. Oh man, I really have to get that out very natural at one point. This time I included in my title or my going live message, I don't know what you call it. I said bloody complicated really about foreshadowing, and that's what it is. I have been thinking about this for 2 weeks, how I would continue this series, and I have come up with a solution. So don't worry, we'll be doing some session prep and we'll be loving it. We'll be having fun. Let's put it that way. And I have a coffee tonight, so I don't drift off like I did last night. Okay, Ash. Well, welcome. Let's see if we can continue our foreshadowing episode. But first, let's do our normal stuff. You know, if you found us on Twitch, please push that follow button. If you really like us, you can even subscribe to us, but it isn't necessary, though it helps us greatly. The other thing is we put all our content on YouTube. There's quite a lot of content there already. Follow us there as well, or subscribe, or whatever, and click that bell button. So and do that as well on Twitch, so you know when we are going live or a new thing launches. And of course, we are there on Instagram, on Twitter. We are even on Reddit, but not that formal yet, I think. And on Discord, of course, where our Dungeon Master gives some great insight. Audio is fine now, but this is the loudest song in the playlist. Well, we'll see about how it will continue. I can always crank up the volume. Then, next Monday, we'll be doing another parallel projections. The Tuesday after that, we'll, at the same time slot as this one, we'll be doing Talking Void again. We don't have a guest. I might have promised a guest, but we don't have a guest yet. We have to fix some things in our schedules. And then the Monday after that is Precipice of Dreams again. And then we'll continue the adventure. We did we watched our GaryCon episode last night at 9:30, and it was great fun. I hadn't seen it myself, and I was, amused. I had to cry at some points, and there was a very easy riddle somewhere in there that made for the whole thing run very smoothly. And then, that's what I have to say about that. But go and watch that episode because it was great. We all did a great job. Can I say that again? Yes, I can. And so go and watch that, and maybe watch it live on YouTube if you want. But this evening there will be some session prep. So let's go into the short intro, and then we'll see what else this evening might bring to you and me. Now remember, people, we don't make mistakes. We only have happy little accidents. So if you ever draw a mountain like this, and you keep on going with the mountain, it isn't a mistake. It's just a very strange mountain range. So we just draw in those other parts of the mountain, and soon enough you will have something that you'll like very much. Even draw in the lines like this, give it some body, and there we go. How cool is that? You know, real mountain range. Another mountain right there. I have become the Bob Ross of map drawing. No, I really haven't, but I suddenly got Bob Ross in my head because of stuff. Well, actually, specific stuff. Stuff having to do with being a dungeon master, and how that is super loud compared to the rest. You should do a Bob Ross map episode. Don't forget the clouds. Yeah, so this these mountains reach the high heavens. You see, there's even a little cavern around there, and there are trees going up the slope like that. No, it's a nice map. But also wear a wig. Yeah, I will wear a wig next time. No, I won't. I don't know. I might wear a wig. I don't know. Anyway, why did I say this? Oh yeah, because being a dungeon master, it isn't an easy thing. A dungeon master is a hard task, and yet it isn't. That's what I'm trying to say in this series. It is hard to do it initially, but you like everything, you get better at it over time, and that's why I came up with Bob Ross. Not actually this quote, but he says, I think there's an artist hidden at the bottom of every single one of us, and if you do too much, it's going to lose its effectiveness. No, that wasn't the one. Anyway, there's a lot of Bob Ross quotes, and I just came up with that. So there will be a cat and some walking in the background, so don't mind that. But let's go back to the talkie screen for now. Anyway, yeah. So I'm getting so distracted by stuff. Dungeon mastering is hard if you make it hard, but if you start with a low learning curve, you can achieve great things in the end, and it doesn't have to be magnificent. And why I'm saying this, because we are doing foreshadowing. We are already into the second episode of the foreshadowing thing, and I think that foreshadowing is a hard thing to do. But it's also very fun to do, and I hope that these episodes will teach you all something about how you can make it relatively easy for yourself, and in the end have an adventure that your players will like so much that they keep coming back to you and stuff. Although you can achieve the same thing with a Goblin Cavern. I'm always looking to the right side of my screen when I'm watching the screen. I don't know why. Well, maybe because chat's there. So foreshadowing. Yeah, where did we stop last time? I think we stopped right here. So. Foreshadowing. What do we need for foreshadowing? A world, a campaign, an adventure, actors, and time. That's how I put it last time. Oh, and now I suddenly realize I forgot something, but because now I can't see chat. Wait, let me fix that. Like that. Whoop. And pin that to the top of my screen. Still forgot something. Anyway. So this is what we said about foreshadowing. You need a world, a campaign, an adventure, and actors, and time. And we established the start of these things when we were doing the thing that we were going to foreshadow. And the foreshadowing thing was that Lux, I named him Lux. Hey, hello, careful cantrip. Perfect time for adventuring prep. Yeah, it is perfect time. So we decided that there were going to be some actors in this great scheme that was happening. I drew it like this. Oh, you can't see that right now. I made a kind of flow chart about this, and I gave them some names. We decided that it was the god of the sun. I named him Lux for this thing. And then this god has a child named Umbra. It can be anything, but I named the child Umbra because it means shadow and light. Lux means light, so I thought that would be a great theme. And Umbra is kind of jealous of their father or mother of Lux, so to say, the creator, because of the gallivanting It does, and the Lux Tenebris getting some serious Tomcraft vibes here. Yo, you play a lot of Minecraft then? Anyway, and then I thought, well, you decided that this Umbra was going towards another force, namely the force of darkness, to confront Lux and become powerful, him or herself. And then I thought, well, if this darkness is all around, so let's call that the cult of Tenebris. That I'm going to call Umbra a she, and I might be calling Lux a she as well, but I don't know for certain because I don't know if I can maintain it. I do, DM Dave, not Raynar. Lol. Yeah, I love the Tomcraft thing, although I didn't really play it that much. So called the Cult of Tenebris, which means darkness. And so then this Tenebris is Umbra, but in her a kind of hidden identity, because she is going to steal the power from Lux and become the main god herself. So then I thought, then we have to know some things about these people. Like, what is Lux's history? What's Umbra's history? What's this Cult of Tenebris' history? Because only then can we understand why Umbra is doing the things she does, and that will help greatly in how we will prep the adventure. But first and foremost, we have to know a little bit more about how these gods interact with the world. So we said that this world was a world was named Varden. I made it Viridi Solis. Why did I do that? Because I just love Latin names, and I have never studied Latin or anything. But I think, and you can't probably put these words behind each other in such a simple way. And then this Viridi Solis became Varden. It means some kind of green sun, which would be great if you have a sun that gives off light, and then you see the forests on the inner earth, and the light reflects from the leaves, so to say. So I called it that, but in short it will be Varden, because that's how it has become mainstream, and that's what we decided upon. But it's always nice to have some historic thing in there. And I've decided upon a couple of other things, like, for example, the scale in which the scale of this world. It should be big, really, because you have the sun in the middle, and then you have a world around it. So I was thinking, the Earth. I think the diameter is like 13,000 kilometers. So make it like 20 times as big on the inside, which would have you would have to travel like 800,000 kilometers to in a straight line to come back to the place that you were, and then everything around it is solid in a way. And that's the strange things about this world, that in the middle there's the sun, and this is the only light source in this whole world filled with darkness. And why am I saying this? That's because that's the thing that makes Lux special in this world. So he found this, he might have created this pocket of empty space where there's this world on the inside, and maybe he made it in this middle of creation, so gravity is pushing outwards or something, I don't know. That's why everybody can stand there, and that's why when you go out from that point, that gravity keeps on being relevant in the same way. And then it's logical that there is a lot of darkness, and maybe this darkness is the thing that Lux escaped from. But maybe you can give me some ideas about this. Why did Lux create this pocket world, so to say? If you have any idea, then please give me some feedback on why this is the case. Am I making any sense anymore? Because once we have established this and we know what the actors are about, then we can plan for a timeline in which this is all going to take place, and I've made a setup for that as well, right here. There's the past, there's the day zero, which is when the adventure started, and there's the future, which is in flux in a way, because we don't know when things will happen to the party and everything. But for now, we really have to what if Lux killed the god of the underworld and turned it into a new world of living and light? So, okay, then you're saying that before this world ever existed, it is an interesting duality that fits the world nicely. Do you mean the light and the pocket light and the darkness all around? Because in a way, that's how our world works as well, right? We get light from the sun, okay, which is in the darkness, but then again, around us, there's this great expanse with darkness. Dark expanse, and then there's, when you go down, you can't go down that much. You could go further down in this world, really, because it might be ever expanding, but we don't have to decide that. Maybe you can dig for like 1,000 kilometers and then you drop out of something and then you're in the universe again. I think I described it that way in the first episode that we did when we created this world. But so, what if Lux killed the god of the underworld and turned it into a new world of living and light? Yeah, so here's where we have to think about stuff. Is there a pre-existing condition to this world, or was there just darkness, or were there entities that drifted there? Was there even life? Because it might be logical that there wasn't any form of life, and when Lux created the world, things started blooming, and then life came to be in his or her image. What if Lux and Umbra switched places and believed that the other was the cause? The cause of what? So to say, the cause of there being life, or of there being darkness, or so Lux was darkness once, and now it's the light, the cause of the two switching places. Oh, you mean that there once, in the normal condition, there was a globe, and this all got turned around. Well, that's an interesting thing. Well, that would have big implications about what is going to. Oh, I like that one. Yes. Okay. So, yeah. So we have to put that in the world description in a way. What's the world's history? Once the world was like any other planet, right? Oh, there's next there still. That is interesting. There was a world of darkness. Who's the parent and who's the child? Yeah. So something by my keyboard is under the microphone. By someone made the empty become full and the full become empty and reversed gravity. Then the light was at the center of things. And everything else became solid darkness. Like that. Then it's completely allows for ambiguity of which side is right and which is wrong. Yeah, because now can we say that Lux was the one that did this then? Gives immense amount of player agency for the grand scheme of the campaign. Well, I must admit, I was searching for something that would put the grey morality would give that a praise, and I think that this does it. Here's a question for the GMs. With this level of ambiguity, would you have a good side and a bad side designed, or would you allow the players to decide this? Well, Ashley, what is good, what is evil? Right? That's a hard one. Why did Lux do this? Did he do it out of love? Did he do it out of... I'm calling him he again. Sorry, I can't keep up with that thing. But I think we make Umbra a she, and then we call it even. Because, there's always... the children are always like envious of their father and mad at their mother or something, and I didn't want to do that one. I just wanted to make it more not as dual. I don't think I would give a definite good versus evil. Perhaps neither were the cause, and there's something working in the shadows or the foreshadows. Okay, there we go. Well, anyway, I think I like the reverse thing. And then we have to know, kind of know what happened to make Umbra be a player in this. So let's say that I think that if Umbra is a child that was born in the new world, so to say, then she doesn't know. She might not have know what happened before, and then there could be forces in the darkness who knew about the before time and blame Lux for his reversal, and that would give them power over her, or give her knowledge over him. And at the same time, so he might seem the bad one, but he might have done it to protect something, And then we have this story. This story starts to become full circle. So let's not decide on Lux's part yet. Let's decide on how Umbra feels, because I think that's enough to start off the adventure prepping for now. So Umbra, daughter of Lux, and you see I called her daughter anyway, named after his shadow. I think the most important isn't the what, but the why. Yeah, of course, the why is always the most important. You're saying this to a philosopher, so I totally agree. But you can't say why is Lux's history. No, just kidding. What's Umbra's history? So she actually lived like in the shadow of this Lux, so to say, and he was always busy. So the comments keep coming. So Ashley says, is it maybe a cycle that is created by external forces, and keeping the gods switching in preeminence stops them finding out the truth, whatever the truth is? Could be. So Umbra might be ending the cycle, and things might be reverse again. Chaos ensues, and then in the dust. Well, this would mean that there are other pockets everywhere, right? I think suns aren't that big anymore, though. But pocket planets dotted everywhere in this vast stony place, so to say. Anyway, Umbra felt kind of neglected. I think that's what we said last time. Got jealous, didn't get attention, and wants to become the opposite of the sun, darkness. So she starts searching for hidden knowledge, and she finds this in the shell of the world, so to say. She's starting to dig, and in this place that was once the void, she finds knowledge of the past. So she was kind of neglected, like that, right? By her father, because he was making sure the world kept working. She came to hate him, but really had no power over him. Gibber Scraps, it's the famous voidcaster Jasper. Loved your performance at GaryCon. Oh man. But we have no power over him. Really had no power over him. Started searching for other sources of power. Stumbled on darkness within the crust of the world, the once void. Question: are we creating a pantheon with more of a Greek-Roman feel, more of a family structure? Yeah, so that's interesting. I didn't want to do that. Want to become famous? Oh, sorry, I shouldn't read that one. Thank you. I want to stay away from we can fill that in later. I think for now, we are designing what we are going to see of what Umbra is doing, and we really included something that happened at the end of the first episode, the foreshadowing thing that you asked for, Dave, and that was the glitch in the sun, so to say. So I think she is starting to accumulate power at the start of the adventure, but it isn't in the character's interest to act on that yet. That's what I would recommend. I think my motto for this series is do as little as possible. And I think that fleshing out a whole pantheon might be something you might do on your show, actually. But I try to keep it as small as possible. So she finds darkness. So what is this darkness? Then we have to know what the darkness is, right? And where she gets her power to even start doing stuff. Seems more monotheistic, one god with a single child. Yeah, but there might be gods out there and he might be banished from a pantheon or something. But who knows? Who knows? So who is she? Is she discovering ancient scrolls of text which give her power, or does she find crossover world building show? I'm in. Well, I'm in as well, Dave. So soonish then. We'll do a monster here and what are they called? Your champions, champion, and then I come to your place and we're going to do a bit of foreshadowing. I don't know. Let's discuss this later. I'm in though. I would watch the hell out of that. Cool. Well, let's shut the fuck. Okay. So what did she stumble upon? Other people? Because these it would be cool if there are kind of ghosts or ghostly beings that remain, in the darkness, trapped in a way, maybe in statues or something. Is that an idea, or do you have another idea? Chat. Knowledge. That's the least we can say about that. She started to act on gained knowledge, but needed an army to do stuff. I think this is kind of the gist of it. So, now, why am I now thinking Weeping Angels? Oh man, the Weeping Angels. I love them in the first episode where they were introduced. I didn't love them that much in later episodes, but the first episode it was so scary. But yeah, like Weeping Angels would be a good idea. Perhaps she found the void, the awe-inspiring nothingness, the ultimate of the finality, but better source of power for darkness. Just don't blink. Weeping Angels, void. Yeah, but then you don't have the reverse thing, or maybe the void can be a small condensed thing. That could be cool. Like you find these pockets of like contained black holes or something that dragged in all the emptiness of space and filled it with the fullness of whatever remains when you take the emptiness away. Its minions, the shadows or reflections of being, the reflection plane of the bending and contortion of light. Yeah. Okay, so she stumbled upon, let's put the bracket right here. Knowledge, Weeping Angels, Void. Let's put the A of Angels, make that a capital letter as well. She started to act and gained knowledge, but needed an arm to do stuff. Started the cult of Tenebris, introducing herself as Tenebris, darkness, while remaining at the side of her father, Lux, to keep doing what she does. The shadows would also be a natural enemy of light and therefore give them a reason to team up. Yeah, so I like the shadow concept anyway, because I started with that aspect in a way. And I think that it is nice to have something be like her name is really means shadow, which is a condition that can't exist without light, you know. So there might be something in that as well. And when she turns to darkness and she can and she would become darkness, then then she really isn't a shadow anymore, and she can't exist in that light. So, but let's not expand too much on this. Okay, we could riff on Douglas Adams' cricket storyline, whereby she discovered that there's a universe of light outside and fears that it will make her father stronger, so she wants to destroy all light. Can't exist or is confined to a single entity. Yeah, like that. We don't know yet. Maybe that's a consequence of what she's doing, you know, she doesn't know it herself. But I like to have an agent. Could be the Void, could be Weeping Angels, could be something even more dark or sinister or bigger, or a whole other pantheon, or all the other gods that got pushed away when Lux did what he did. Could be any of that, we don't know yet. It's not important for this part of the story yet. What is important that she starts to act, and so what is she trying to do? I know, let's throw another cow in. Let's throw another cow in. Oh, okay. I love the cricket story, by the way, from Douglas Adams. Just wanted to say that, and the anger that they felt, you know, which is closer to real life than you might expect. Imagine that you've been told something your whole life, and then it appears to be different when you finally get your truth revealed to you, which might be what's happening here. There's no cow level. I'm playing Diablo 3 again, and there is no cow level? No idea. So she creates a cult in her own name, in her other given name, so she can keep what she's doing away from her father's eyes. and she has to do this because she wants to. She has. Well, why? I think that it is because the knowledge she's found, once more people start absorbing it, she can grow in strength from the people that will follow her with gained powers. Which I think is something Ashley suggested anyway last time, that gods exist by the power of their followers. So when more of these gods start gathering dark powers, she will grow in strength as is Tenebrous, but still keeping it hidden from her. So what she's doing actually is developing a whole new clergy, right? Is that okay with you all? Clergy. If I'm making any spelling errors, you can tell me, because I want to have it on paper the right way. Mostly it's mistyping, so I know how to spell English. Can we agree on this? Still keeping away from the most... we can complicate this over time, you know, but we now have to see what's the first step that she's taking that blotted out the sun for a second, so that we know what the second step will be, and then we can start include. Because the whole thing why we are doing this is we don't want to put this in front of the characters. We just want to foreshadow stuff, and that means that during their journey through the world, they come upon things that don't touch their own story yet, might touch their own story, but we'll see how we get these things into the adventure without making it the main thing of the adventure. Now, if you want to see a great example, I don't even know if this is if this is the end game, and knowing him, or I don't know him, but knowing what he did in his first adventure, it might not be. I'm talking about Critical Role, where there now is this great story arc that got foreshadowed from like episode 1. And I love that, you know, and it all comes together. It came together like 20 episodes ago, what was happening, and all of these inklings in other parts of the adventure grew towards this reveal, what was the most imminent danger to the world right now. But it could be that it is not that thing that's the most dangerous thing, it's the other story arc that's been developing, and which will come into play after this again. So either everyone has dropped silent or my chat has stopped reacting. I don't know. No, it's okay. You're listening to me then. That's okay as well. And that's what we're trying to do. Because foreshadowing, in a way, is giving people an inkling of sense of what is happening, without giving them the knowledge of what it is. Hi. So what's the cult's history? The cult's history, how long has she been at it? At it. So, man. How long has she been developing this cult? Is it like 1 year? Is it 10 years? Is it 100 years? Is it like 200 years? Because that says something about the scope and how secret of an organization it is. Because if she has been developing it over like 200 years, and she still can look her father in the eyes and say, no, I'm this shadow being of yours. Maybe she controls the moons for him. I've been thinking about this as well, you know. If there's this world and there's a day and night cycle, maybe there's like a chain of moons that travels around the sun. Would be cool. Blotting it out and doing stuff. I would tend to agree. It's an important aspect of foreshadowing to allow the party to rub up against the main plot without revealing all of them. I think the show The Mandalorian is such an amazing modern example of foreshadowing the main plot. Well, I haven't. I'm nearing the end of the first season of The Mandalorian, and I'm loving it. At first, I was a bit skeptical, but well, recent episodes really made it better for me. Yeah, actually, 200 years to coincide with the rotation of the planet. So I think you may. So what's the rotation of the planet then? Because the sun is in the middle. The Earth is on the inside of this hollowed out form. And that's why I thought the moons might be traveling around the sun, so that you have a day and night cycle in that way. Or it might even be one moon that's like a shell around part of the sun that blots it out for like 8 hours a day, and that shifts around. Which is why you at the polar sides you might have daylight like all the time. What I meant by that is you have to your party, aka the Mando and the baby, but there's clearly more happening out there. Right now they get small glimpses, but do not know the main thread of the story just yet. Yeah, that's cool. I love that. They do that pretty well. Yeah. And the question is, I haven't seen it the second season yet, but the question is, will that ever happen, or is it? I think I said this once before on Talking Void, that when I made my Urtur campaign, I was dead set on. I had developed this world over a couple of years, and then I was dead set that they would never get to know the lore behind the world, but just have adventures in them that take place at certain times, and that's their little part of the universe. But then players always want to know in the end, what's the big thing that's happening, and then they attach themselves to that anyway. And don't worry, my friend, no spoilers here. Ashley says the moons are stationary and the planet rotates around them all. But then there's no real day and night cycle, right? Because I was thinking of them revolving around the sun in like 24 hours to make it easy. So then, because you're touching on something there, Ashley. Because you can make a world as strange as you want, but in the end, if people can't relate to, for example, something as simple as a day and night cycle, you might make it too complex for them. That's why I think that most campaigns include like 24 hours and 7 days in a week anyway, or they might diverge by doing 20 hours and 6 or 8 days in a week or something like that, and mess up the months a bit. Well, I thought there might either be a lot of moons actually, or there might be a single like shell around the sun that rotates in 24 hours and makes the day and night cycle happen like that. And that would be a great thing for Lux to do, because he understands day and night cycles from the before time, and he might have given this task, for example, to Umbra to cast the shadow, to cast night on the planets, and she doesn't really like it because she's just walking around in this ball that's surrounding part of the sun, and she has to control this rotation around the sun, and that's all she does all day. Something like that. That's what was happening in my mind. But of course we can do a whole extensive thing where we are talking about 200 days without night, so to say. But I think that would also affect how cultures work and what species look like, because then everybody might be tent or even live a nomadic life, traveling with the on cities that slide across the landscape to keep up with the sun, or stay on the border of night and day or something. And then make it a decimal day and decimal calendar. I didn't work for the French, but you can get good images of decimal clocks and calendars. Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah. Decimal days can be logical. You still need to have 365 of them, though. And hours, it's a bit strange, but you can do that, of course. Yeah. Then the meaning of a second just becomes another standard. But let's keep it simple for now, Ashley. So I'm going to be a bit of a dungeon master here and say that we are keeping it at a 24-hour cycle and like 300, 400 some day a year, so we can keep the thing going a bit and don't have, because remember, we are doing this series to get Dungeon Master started and to make the first adventure and go on a second adventure, draw a Goblin Cavern, and then do this whole foreshadowing thing that takes up episode 4 or 5 and probably 6 and 7. That comes with because once we have this, we can start prepping the next session again. You know. So can we agree on that? I would like to have your consent. The French tried it after the revolution. It was a disaster. Good museum to it in Paris. Yeah. Well, I would love to have seen that work in a way. Depends on how many hours a day you can have for free time and how many days in the week are weekend, you know. Something. But I can imagine that it's a disaster. So let's keep the day and night cycles. Okay. Let's keep the day and night cycle simple. And do you all like the idea of the thing that Umbra has to control is the shadow that makes the night appear on the world? Because then that sounds like a really boring task. And then the father really doesn't have to do anything because this globe is just hanging there in the middle of the world and it can go off gallivanting and everything. And that's why she might be a bit, you know, mad at him. And then this can have, because we want a rich history for this world, right? But what even is a rich history? You know, some campaigns go back like tens of thousands of years and there were all these civilizations. But when we think of our own civilization, things that happened 200 years ago, we have already forgotten, even in this time where a lot of knowledge is stored, or we don't exactly know how they happened, and medieval times are a riddle to most people. And then Egyptians, we kind of get the sense that, well, they are great builders because they could build a pyramid, but then on the other side we think that they might have been influenced by aliens, because how can you ever carry a stone that's so big? And you know, there's a lot of speculation as well on the interwebs. But we're keeping it simple. Umbra has to turn the day and night cycle. Yes, but it would be odd to see if, as I assume, you could see the sun illuminating the other side of the sphere. Yeah, that's true. Didn't think of that. Well, maybe it comes with... Maybe it's like a shadow plate that revolves around the sun then. Could be that as well. Like the effect though. Like it's dark and yet past the darkness there's light. Kind of optical illusion thing. Love your thinking, Ashley. Let's not go too deep into that part, right? We can develop that later as well. So they have been added 200 years, which is... well, we can't talk about a cycle then anymore, but like 2 centuries. And they have accumulated... And recently, Umbra did something that shook the world a bit, or at least made the sun flicker for a second. So what was that? What did she find? And what did she need the cult of Tenebris for that this happened? And it probably happened in the shack in Pleasantville. Because, you know, that thing collapsed and they found something down there. And there was nothing left there. But there was this beam going towards the sun. So it's a small thing that can happen, but it has big effects. And it leaves ropes empty, so to say. Can you think of anything in there? You know, I've really tried to not think of this too much because I wanted to include chat in this developing of this world or this idea of this foreshadowing stuff. And I've been successful because I have no idea. But this thought process that we are doing right now, this is the thing that you do to build your adventure. Siphoning the light and spitting it into the void. Yeah, so then the beam that shot up was kind of like lightning going the other way, you know, like starting at the ground instead of which it does, you know, it goes up in a split second. It's like that. So for a second they sucked the light away from the sun. They had a success, but they didn't survive the success. So what's the cult history? What are they doing? Well, they are obviously experimenting with darkness magic. Not dark magic, darkness magic. One experiment plotted at the sun for a second. They made a conduit to the void and sent the light there. Like that? Thanks, Ash. That's cool, right? Now, why did they do that? Was that their task, or did they accidentally stumble upon something? Because I remember that we said that there was something left there, and we can still retcon that. So it might be a piece of material that's kind of otherworldly that had this property of siphoning the light. And they used the right kind of magic on it, which is divine magic given to them by Umbra. And so she might have felt what they did and know she's making progress. Then we have a thing that we can include in our next part of the adventure, where they are replicating this ritual with the same kind of material, and then it either happens again or it fails, and we'll discuss that. Many hands make light work. If all the cults do it over time, then they weaken Lux. Yeah. So their mission: draining the light from Lux, making Tenebris more powerful, and giving to the void. Man. Make Tenebris more powerful. At the same time. So they're really weakening Lux, granting strength to Tenebris. At the same time, an Umbra is also worshipped. Just so I'm clear, are we making Tenebris the nemesis? I don't know yet, because that's the gray area, right? Tenebris, or Umbra, so to say, is doing this out of a misconception of what might have happened. We don't know this yet. We haven't developed that part of Lux's story yet. But she is doing this to... what's her goal? Does she want to be an equal to Lux, or does she want to overthrow him because she simply doesn't like him? It seems, it's a bit of a childish theme, right? Like, father doesn't give her attention, and so she starts to suck the life away from him and starts to become more powerful. She thinks she's the rightful ruler. Lux thinks he is. You decide. Yeah, well, that's cool as well. It's a bit like Thanos and Gamora, right? Thanos isn't giving her all the information, so she and either he could have given her the whole information and she would have turned away from him, or she would have stayed by him. But by not giving her all of the information, she rebels. That's kind of what happens there, and I think this is that kind of story. That Lux is not telling her of what happened before she was born, or created from his own image. I think we're doing a bit more of that kind of stuff. And then just gave her this task, and she's fed up with it. She will never do anything else, so she gets angry. And when anger starts growing over centuries or millennia even, then it becomes a strong resentment that might actually take root on such a grand scale. Can we live with that? And then she thinks that she would rightful ruler might not be the right wording, but she so what does Umbra want? She just wants to do better. Okay, so not necessarily the villain, but we're defining her goals in case it does come to her being the big bad evil guy. Yeah. Might also be that something bigger starts seeping in, or that they have to work to return the balance after she sees her fault, and or Lux might disappear or become weakened, and the sun might lose his strength, and they have to find a new source of light or a way to feed him, or raise a new clergy in his name so he gets more power from them, or something like that. Because by then Umbra has the power of her Umbra followers, and she has the power of her Tenebris followers, and she's this dual aspect in a way. And so he has become weakened by default. He might even be asleep at the center of the sun and doesn't even realize that this is happening to him, but we can think of that in the future as well. But yes, not really. Her results are... The results she produces are things that a party might not like and might fight against. That's the idea. And I think that her cult might even be... because any cult has these branches, and there are these zealous followers that really take it too far and start experimenting on, extracting light from human beings, for example, or living beings. There are also these cultists who say, well, she is the rightful ruler, she must overthrow Lux, but once she is there, she will be there for all of us. You have these different sects in the cult, or cells. Let's call them cells. But what does Umbra want? She wants to do better than her father. Sorry to ask so many questions. I'm just a little lost. Are we focusing on foreshadowing the ultimate goal of Umbra then? Okay, it's interesting that you're saying you feel a little bit lost. I think then I have to clarify some things. So what we are foreshadowing is, in the end, what we are foreshadowing for the party, because we have to keep the party in mind, is the fact that the sun will fail because of the things Umbra does. And these things will start seeping into the adventure while they progress through their possible main storyline that they feel they have become part of. And that's what we're doing. Yeah. Is that enough of an explanation? Because otherwise I have to think about this whole thing. Of how I'm putting this forward. We want to have something... okay, got it. So the event is the sun going dim. Yeah, the event is a world-shattering cataclysm where, because of the sun growing dim, the universe, as was your suggestion, Dave, will shift again, and what was full becomes empty, and what is empty becomes full again. I thought that would be catastrophical enough. But we'll probably export it in a later stage, because otherwise we are going really broad here. But we are keeping that in mind, because that's what we said. That really is the world factor. All right, I'm on the right page now. Lol. Okay, well, I hope my viewers are as well. She wants to do better than her father. There are a lot of moving parts, and I think that normally when you're doing this thing, as I said, I was trying to say before, but chat distracts me, and I like that chat distracts me. Is that when you're doing this in your head, I think you're taking a lot of weeks to think about these grand schemes, right? Because when you're developing an adventure, you might have had weeks in prep before you even start, and then you go on to do large stuff behind the screens when you're prepping these normal sessions in between your big reveal at the end, which again is not what you should do, but what you can do. You can just also run goblin after goblin encounter until you're level 20, so to say. But then we wouldn't have this topic. But it takes a lot of time, and we are condensing this into like 1.5 hour max. So that that gives us something to think about in this time that we've been given. And so that's why I try to think of stuff that we need right now and stuff that we can develop later. And I think that Lux's motives, whatever happened in the history of the world, is not that important right now. What's important right now is that the cultists have made a breakthrough. Umbra's getting into this, and the characters are experiencing this while they are doing something else. And I hope we're still foreshadowing then. Yeah, so here I still said what is needed for us, and we'll get in that later. So what does Umbra want? She wants to do better than her father. I think we established that. She wants to become more powerful than him to do so. One experiment blotted out the sun for a second. Okay, so that leaves us at the point where we are in the adventure then, in a way. So next step. We do the experiment. Tenebris is watching. So the only thing we're doing this session now is, where is Tenebris now? What is her immediate goal? Let's put that on under what is going to happen. Immediate goals. Umbra / Tenebris. What does she want right now? Is she the one who wants to redo the experiment, or redo it so that she can see what happened? So the why is, Umbra wants to take her father's position as ruler, but is having troubles doing it because he is too powerful. Yeah, she's conducting experiments to drain his power in order to strike him down. Essentially, is that correct? Yeah. And she might not even realize that how she is doing it is that destructive. I think that's about right. That's what you're saying. What you're saying is about right. Yeah. Well, is she? Now the question is, because Lux must have experienced this blotting out the sun. He might awaken again, or he might already be awake and say, "Hey, what's happening?" And so Umbra probably doesn't want to be discovered. So that might be a thing that's happening, or she might be in two places at the same time and start to really put the lash on on some of the disciples to reproduce the experiment, but do it on a grand scale. So the one that's near the characters isn't where she is. Is she even there? Are gods allowed to walk among men? As she says, and I guess you can then extend this by having something or someone plant this idea in her head. Yeah, indeed. Actually, that's because I think she found something in the void, but that made the vault harden, so to say. And those things we can start thinking about when it becomes relevant. Yeah, the bigger evil, so to say, maybe a true evil, or not even a true evil. People actually want the universe to return to its normal state of being, namely with planets and a lot of void in between. And they don't really care that these new worlds have developed in a quite different way. Dave says, I think the results of the experiments are an amazing way to foreshadow the main event. Yeah, like that. So, if I would be the dungeon master of this, I think I would let another experiment in the vicinity go terribly wrong. In such a way that it doesn't blot out the sun, but something else happens, and it has an effect on the land, or it has an effect on some people, or something gets destroyed or something. I don't want to make a Roger kind of adventure. Where you have these things that stay in the world and are wounds upon the world. I don't want to do that way, but there might be lasting effects from this experiment that is going pretty wrong. So, local cult. I think that we can start talking about the local cult here. Local cult wants to redo the experiment themselves for the greater glory. Okay, Dave says, I would recommend, and 1000% just my opinion, would be a focus on different ways to harness sunlight and then turn those into actionable experiments that have differing reactions. Some may fail and some may succeed, but they will all have the same purpose of harnessing, stealing the sun. Yeah, indeed. So, but I think that once you reach a success, then a lot of effort will be going to reproducing this, but there will of course be different things happening everywhere across the world that have totally different results, and some might even be beneficial to Lux, for example, and not beneficial to Umbra at all, or some might have created monsters that are now walking the world and wreaking havoc. And some might have created creatures of light that's, but this is another thing, I don't want the dichotomy between darkness and light be like good versus evil. That isn't really what's the case here. I think that darkness might bring forth good and evil things, as does light. And it is by accident, or it's somewhere in between design and accident, that Umbra is on the verge of breaking the world. As he says, could you have one go right in the PC, find the cultists celebrating and have to get information from them? Yeah, for example. A simple example would be a field of crops suddenly dying because something is happening to their photosynthesis. It's an adventure that the party can explore without giving up the ghost, so to speak. Yeah. Now here we're going. Well, I think that this is the point that we are going that we will be discussing in our next episode, where we will be designing a next session for this. So I think this foreshadowing part isn't over yet. We have to foreshadow a whole lot more because we have to keep expanding on this theme that we've set here, and then we are going to develop the next session where they did a goblin cavern. That's what we have right now, and they will return to either Happyville or the other place, which I can't remember the name of right now. And then, they've solved the goblin problem, which has nothing to do with the adventure. Might have something to do because there were goblins and hobgoblins coming in from a different direction, so maybe in another part of the country there's already things going wrong. But let's keep it local. Yeah, let's get them familiar with their surroundings, with the people that live there. Let's have this the cow inn, so to say, become a place where they can rest and know the people. They return to the voice of the bard. He can be a non-playing character that gives them hints. There's now this trade route between these two villages that they are a part of, and we can make them go left and right from that point forth. Maybe the local landlord is taking interest and makes them investigate the destruction of some crops, and we'll go from there. Umbra's Tenebris, I think we will be keeping her out, doing damage control with Lux. And then all kinds of things are going to happen locally in different parts of the world, and once they get out of their little like level 1 to 5 shell, they will start to understand there are a lot of other things happening in the world that are totally destroying the Pleasantville kind of theme, the relative peace that's been happening everywhere. That will slowly get destroyed over time, and they'll become part of a bigger thing. But next time, so I think we have enough for this session. Do you agree with me? Because we are already thinking about the next adventure, and I think that will be the subject of my next episode. And what this will be, it might be that we'll we do the celebrating thing that Ashley says, or we might do the failed crops, or we might do something different. I'm going to think about it as well for a bit. I also want to include some techniques with map drawing, with that kind of stuff. So as to also develop some dungeon master skills. Maybe build a monster for the next encounter, or simply redesign a monster from the monster manual or something. But I have some thoughts about that process as well. So let's end it here. Yeah. Foreshadowing. We have built enough backstory to do the foreshadowing. We are going to include that on the next episode. And monster building, you're speaking my language. Yeah, I love monster building. And next time we'll be designing the next step in the adventure. An adventure with some foreshadowing. Yep, the Dungeon Masters now have about 20 sessions in their heads. Yeah, just from chatting over foreshadowing lore. Great show, my friend. Looking forward to the next one. Thank you. Thanks so much for being here. I had a lot of fun. It was less of a drawing kind of episode. It was more like a typing kind of episode, which I love as well, because I rarely do that. Well, apparently you had fun as well, so that's great. Dave, we're going to talk about some collaboration in the future again, possibly. And I'm going to think about how I will be designing a monster on screen then. Always a good evening, Jasper. Thank you, Ashley. So, be seeing you. Goodbye. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening. Have a nice life, so to say. And remember, happy little accidents. Goodbye.